Good evening, Internet, and welcome to a very special part one of two on this fantastic day. We are looking at episode 35 right now of Kenter at Your Own Risk, where Kent and Chris talk about episode 9 of season 1 of House of the Dragon, The Green Council. We will immediately be completing that and going into episode 36, our discussion on the Mummy franchise. Well, immediately for us. You probably will have a little bit of delay. But stick around with us for that. It's my birthday, and I am drinking. And Kent has been very sick this week, so let's give him a break.
Yeah, if I say something completely off the beaten path, man, it's 105 temperature, man. It's a good time. It's really funky.
Would you say you possibly stepped off the beaten path?
So it begins.
I think it began when I saw Jim's responses to your question on this week's blog.
Oh gosh, I haven't even read what he wrote yet. I already know what the last response is going to be about. I don't have to question it.
There is no questioning that.
No.
Maybe Allison should be.
Gosh. I do actually have a question about that. That's kind of unrelated, but is there any significance to the tattoo on her leg?
If there is, I don't know.
Okay. I mean, really, that's what I was trying to focus on, because I find feet gross, and so, yeah.
Well, one person did.
One person, okay. All right. Well.
All right. So, basically, this is another... This episode has a lot of moving parts, but not too many scenes. And again, your notes are probably better than my notes, but it starts, and if I remember correctly, we get the servants kind of rushing through the palace.
Yeah, basically the king is dead, and Alicent wants to keep everything quiet while talking to Otto.
It's a little boy first, if I remember correctly, and he goes and talks to Talia, and then Talia lets Alicent know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get probably a good minute and a half of just watching people wander around through the castle before we kind of get... Well, I mean, we get clued in as soon as we see Talia.
Right.
And she tells Alicent, and then Alicent goes and tells Otto, and tells him that, yeah, of course, in Viserys' right mind, not being, under the influence of drugs or pain or delusions or the fact that his brain is rotting, he told me he wants Aegon to be king. And that sets off, the rest of the series. Basically that one thing.
I'm still... I understand that in her mind she wanted it to be about Aegon, but in all reality, if you just pick apart that scene on his deathbed, at what point, if you're her, if you're not trying to convince yourself otherwise, and you just hear what the old man's saying, how in your warped little mind do you come to the conclusion? I'm still baffled by that, but whatever. And then people are like, Alicent's innocent. I'm like, no, she had a hint at the very least of being like, oh, you're talking about my boy. Okay, yeah, this is what we wanted.
If you listen to what he's actually saying, he's not talking about his son. He's talking about his ancestor. Cool. I mean, that's fucking... I saw Aegon coming across the water, conquer... that's... Unless her son's, planning on going over to Pentos, that's not what's going on here. So she's just hearing what she wants to hear.
I do think that at one point in this episode, he did want to go to Pentos.
You're absolutely correct, but she didn't know that.
Right. No, and she was... I don't know. I hate how sometimes, they paint this vision of... Alicent keeps getting, painted over into, a different person sometimes in this series. Sometimes she's innocent, and other times there's parts where it's just like, no, you're not that dumb, lady.
I really think this fucking episode answered a lot of those questions in a lot of subtle ways that I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't pick up on. But
yeah,
we'll get to them as we go. I mean, we'll get to them as we limp along.
Yes. I like limping.
Anyways, like for Otto, this is like the best news he's ever fucking heard. He's like, all right, yeah.
Has Otto officially turned into the star of the show?
Well, at this point, with Patty being dead, Otto is probably one of the two biggest names left between
him and Damon, right?
Yeah, him and Damon. You know, Matt Smith and him. So
yeah. I was as I was watching, I was like, no, Otto's become his own man right now. Like he's really, if he's not one, he's two at the very least, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's more going to focus about Rhaenyra and Alicent, but yeah, I mean, it's weird because, you know, you look at like all the people who had the star power at the beginning of Game of Thrones, and then look at the people who are getting more regular work now at the end, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So from there we go to the council, correct? Do we know?
Yeah, you may even call it a green council.
A green council, like the title of the episode.
Look at that.
Anyways, I got to throw it up. My second choice, if something later in this episode hadn't happened, for our honorary award, week by week on the blog, would have gone to Lyman Beesbury.
Yeah, I know. He's going to get mentioned in my spiel. I know he's going to, because he owned it, man. He owned this. I mean, there was a lot going on in this scene, and yet I think at the end of it, I still walked away going, good on Lyman.
You know, I just love the fact that Alicent's like, wait, have you guys all been conspiring behind my back, and I'm just finding out about this now? Duh.
Are we sure she's not blonde? I mean, damn it. That was like the most oblivious moment. Is that the most oblivious moment in this show's short history?
I don't think so. I'm sure there's been ones. I mean, like Viserys not realizing that, you know, his daughter. Strong. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Very very strong boys.
I did like that they called Viserys the Peaceful. I like that. It reflects well on everything that Viserys really tried to do, but at the end he actually caused kind of the polar opposite with, you know, his final, you know, whatever days.
Yes, by refusing to just put his foot down.
Right.
So yeah, we get Kristen again murdering somebody in cold blood and not facing any repercussions for it.
He's living his best life right now.
I'm really glad that Harold Westerling stood up for, you know, what was right, kind of sideways. Maybe he really didn't, but at least he threw his cloak off and said, "Yo, come back to me when there's a real king. Peace out, bitches." Pop.
I mean, he's gonna go over to Dragonstone, right? You think, or do you think he's just not going to show up for a bit?
I don't know. I would assume that, like, yeah, like, I was really surprised that they just let him go when it was apparent that they were going to be, like, murdering everybody else who was going to try to leave, kind of shit.
Which, it makes me wonder, how much of a badass is Westerling? Because we have not seen him. I mean, obviously he's a badass, but we haven't seen it yet at all, have we?
We have not. But, I mean, then again, Jaime was commander of the Kingsguard when he was only one-handed, so...
This is true. But Jaime also would have taken out, you know, damn near anybody in a sword fight with one hand after he learned it.
Well, maybe. I mean, I still believe that was more of a political / sexy boy appointment, but
I'm all about the sexy boy appointment.
And then I don't remember where we went to immediately following the council.
Otto and Al start looking for Aegon, and we see Helena with her 2 toddlers, so that's a thing.
Yes.
And Helena gives a line saying that there's a beast beneath the boards. And
I don't think she's psychic. I just think she's creepy.
No, she's psychic.
No.
I'm going to go down in flames on that one.
I bet you will.
I have no problem going down on the dumbest things possible, and that'll be something I hang my hat on.
You have no problem going down on feet?
No. God, no.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, this is going to be a fun one to talk about.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean...
Apparently, and I did not know this, although I've found out since then, there's also a 4th child, the youngest brother out of the 4 siblings that Alicent and Viserys had.
Wait, there is?
Who is supposed, who I guess is at this point is going to school or being educated in Hightown and will be back next season, the producer said.
Oh, well,
so,
good.
So I mean, there's another child
it.
that we've never even heard of, who will be involved in this shit.
Okay. I mean, we don't even have names for the 2 little ones we just saw, right?
Yeah, for the new heir and heir apparent to the kingdom.
Yeah.
We don't have names for them. Yep.
There are some things that have been done poorly this season, and getting names out of people's mouths, like not knowing the names of Lena's daughters for a while. Yeah, stuff like that. You up your game, guys.
I want to say it's probably one writer's job to do that, and that's the one that's failing on a weekly basis. Oh shit! I forgot they didn't introduce these people again.
His name's probably Russ.
Or Russ's mom.
Ooh, but she always gets the job done.
I was going to make a response, and then you said that. And anyways, so that's a little scene there. Yeah, I really don't think she's psychic.
Well, she's okay.
She's definitely different.
Would you say, like, the other theory is that she's, at the very least, autistic, which I can see how they're trying to portray that. I don't know.
I could see that, being on the spectrum
yeah. But you know what? The story's so much cooler if she's clairvoyant, and we don't have much magical whimsy, once you get past the dragon, so I'm all for it. I need a Melisandre in my show.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're getting one. But if you want to hold on to that hope, you do so, Kent. I'm not going to break your heart on this particular case.
Right.
So then we go into basically like the next 2/3 of the episode? The hunt for Aegon?
Oh my gosh, the hunt for Red October here? Yeah.
All right, so I want to throw you a question.
Go on.
Answer me this. Based upon where we ended last episode, what did you expect to be happening with, like Rhaenyra and Daemon and their children?
What did I expect? I expected them to... I actually expected to see them in some capacity this week, but being that as it may, I'm surprised that they managed to get out, but apparently they left before his death, but I fully expected them to be hunted down.
Because, I expected them to be fucking sleeping when this happened, since this was only supposed to be, 2 hours after the fucking dinner that they were all at?
Well, that's where I'm wondering, did Rhaenyra just get them out, hey, you guys got into a fight with your cousins. We're leaving right now. We're not packing up our stuff.
Her whole thing was, Alicent's like, no, stay. And she's like, you know what, let me get the kids. I'll take the kids home, and then I'll come back on Dragon Back. I wasn't expecting them to leave that night. I was thinking more like, okay, in the morning, you know, we'll pack up and go, and then I'll come back. You know, it'll be a couple days, but I'll get back here.
Like, seriously, did they just leave on ship that quickly?
Yeah, and I mean, not only that, but like, if it was that short a time period, I'm like, I don't understand why Otto wasn't like, hey, send the fucking fleet out, go burn the fucking ship down before they get to their dragons.
Yes, that there was something very wrong in the timeline here that they just conveniently overlooked, I believe.
Maybe there was a time jump at the end of the last episode, and we didn't get like the 2 weeks between like when Viserys laid down in his bed and when he actually died. Even better, maybe he laid down in bed and died and nobody went in there for like 2 weeks.
It must have smelled great in there. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only person who's like, what the fuck's going on here?
No, because once again, there's a few things that are really bad with the writing, and that falls under that category.
For me, it's like my big problem with jump from Force Awakens to the Last Jedi. You know, I could accept the Last Jedi story if I understood how we got there, but where we end at Force Awakens and where we start at the Last Jedi, there's no correlation between the two spots. So I end up questioning what's going on. Same thing here. Like, the last thing we get right before the scene where Viserys dies and gives his little speech to Alicent is Alicent and Rhaenyra kind of like apologizing to each other at dinner after their kids, you know, were a bunch of assholes to each other. And then this, you know, like, I almost expected, you know, like when we see Rhaenys locked in later on in the episode, I almost expected to be like, how come that didn't happen to Rhaenyra and Daemon?
Right. Okay, so it wasn't until that scene where I see, which is, you know, another scene away, but that is exactly what prompted my thought process of, all right, if she's getting locked in, then certainly Rhaenyra and family's still there, because clearly they didn't all ride via dragon, like, we know that, so they took a boat. I can't imagine that they set sail at like 10 p.m. at night, you know, Eastern Westeros time.
Yeah, they caught the red-eye boat.
Right. I mean, why would they ever depart that late at night? There'd be no rhyme or reason.
It makes no sense, but that's the only thing that could have possibly happened in order for this episode to make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, and I think this is a pretty interesting dichotomy of the way they go about it and what we see during the course of this. But we get Eric and I like going with Eric and Arik, but I know it's not quite Arik. Every time I hear somebody named Eric, I just think of Blowers. So I'm thinking we go Little B and Big B, and then we got
Okay.
Kristen and Aemond as the other team. One of them's looking to find Aegon to bring him to Otto first, and the other's looking to find Aegon to bring him to Alicent first. And I want to be like, the only real difference that's going to happen is he's going to get slapped by one person and not slapped by the other. So I love the fact that the one faction is already working at cross purposes within its own faction.
Yeah, it really was. This was the amazing race of House of Dragon. What an odd concept that they gave us.
So we get, unique insights into what's going on. Like Aegon, I will admit, seemed just like kind of like a humble, poor boy. Like, hey, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to take advantage of my celebritard status to get what I can. And then we find out that he's been like making bastards all over the place, and his bastards are being forced to fight in like child fucking gladiator pits. So yeah, that's like a little dark stain on him there.
Yeah, that whole, like, oh, we're just going to sharpen kids' teeth and let their nails grow out, and, oh, wow. Like,
it's not vicious enough when we do it with dogs, so we just fucking turn kids feral and have them murder each other.
Yeah, that, you know, just when we get bad writing, then they're just like, you know, if we give them something crazy enough, they might just forget. So, that's the theory right there.
And then we get a very clear example of the fact that, like, Aemond knows absolutely nothing about, about his brother. And,
Yeah.
basically wants to be king now. And as he says, he's probably the more deserving one.
Absolutely. He's the one taking this seriously, not doing much.
Oh, I wish you could see what he's going to be doing in the next couple seasons.
All right.
Maybe you don't want to see it. Anyways, so we go into the point where we get this chick's brand new, right? The one who comes up and says, "Oh, I work for the White Worm."
Yeah, we haven't met her yet.
So we get another example of a poor person working for, lack of the word, a better word, like the basic house's version of Master of Whispers. So far, the closest thing that we've gotten. And she sets up a meeting between Otto and Mysaria. Did we have any other scenes back in the keep between?
Okay. So we missed two things. Yeah, we missed Rhaenys, and we also missed when Aemon and Crispin talked to the one, I don't know if she was a head whore or whatever. There was the great line from Aegon told Aemon, "Time to get it wet." I really, really enjoyed how he said that line more so than the line itself.
Yeah, I mean that's like a coming of age line. Everybody hears that line at least once. Yeah. If you're a dude.
I mean,
growing up in the 80s, in the 90s, probably like, not so much now.
Like the Rhaenys thing. I mean, right now all it is the whole scene was she realizes she was locked up and she looks out the door and Larys was around. That was really it. So that's why it's a scene, but. Yes, that's the stage for later. So
basically, at this point is when we transition back to the keep to get the one with between Rhaenys and Alicent, if I'm correct. Somewhere in this area.
Right now, beyond this, Otto is now in the room full of lords and demand that they bend the knee, which gives the new character Alan or Alum. I think it's Alan. Lord Alan Caswell. He was the last guy to bend. Bald guy. I think he was bald, right?
The one who gets hung?
Yeah.
Okay, the one we met last week.
Oh, we did meet him?
He was the one who showed up, the only one who showed up to Rhaenyra and Daemon. Yeah. We met a couple new people, though, before that, the people that said they wouldn't.
Housefell and a lady, I didn't quite get who she was.
Lady probably not going to be around anymore.
Oh, yeah. Lady don't have much time left on this world. But.
So, Otto's going strong in the whole fucking militant fucking kill all your enemies dance before shit starts.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, they just got swept away if they didn't. And, I mean, whether they got imprisoned or just put to death immediately, I mean, does it really matter? I think you're kind of splitting hairs, right?
At this point, yeah. Especially as we find out later in the episode, Lord Larys is known as what, the Inquisitor or the Questioner?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't think I have it written down what it was, but yeah.
Yeah. So with him as your fucking toe tickler, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. How many foot lines do you have written down?
I actually have none. It's all coming off the top of my head.
Okay, just curious.
So, I'm curious. I don't remember exactly, but do we go into the scene where Alan is in the courtyard trying to get away immediately after? Or is that a little further down?
So here's what we got. We got, from that scene, we then had Eric and Arik. Then we found out the whole Aegon having kids and the child fighting pit. Then we see Alan getting on his horse. He looks very concerned. But then we get another scene of him a little bit later. Right now, we're getting... after that, we get Aemon complaining about wasting his time looking for his idiot brother. Which... it's a scene, but I mean, he's basically saying stuff that I think that most viewers already know. Then we get the lady that I don't know if we ever had the name, that, worked for the White Worm. And then we have the Alan scene, which I think is what you were alluding to, where the guards grab him.
Where, Larys informs the guards that he's trying to escape, and he gets hauled off and questioned and murdered. Well, executed.
Yeah. I liked the thing that Larys said. There's no reason those hours couldn't also benefit Otto. I enjoyed that line.
Yeah, he's a worm, and I think the one reason why those hours couldn't benefit Otto is I don't think Otto's feet look anything like Alicent's. I mean, that's just a guess off the top of my head, but.
I picture Otto having some really nasty feet.
I picture most dudes in Westeros having, feet that look like my feet. Like Hobbit. They're hairy. They're, like calluses and ingrown toenail. Just not something you want to see out in public.
Right, yeah. No curvature of the nail. Yeah, all that fun grossness.
Especially since... Shit, I have no idea how they did for, toenail hygiene back then. I would imagine scissors were probably the closest thing that you got to something dedicated for that, if not like a knife.
Oh, God. So, yeah, your nail is just scraping against your sock all day long. Oh, that sounds unpleasant.
And, boots are either going to be very soft leather, in which case it's not going to do much, or very hard leather, in which case you're going to be breaking it all the time. So, yep.
Yeah. All right. Ugh.
So, within that batch of scenarios, we also get a scene between Alicent and Rhaenys, where...
We get the Septus wrapping up Viserys.
Oh,
quickly.
Okay.
But... that was it. Alicent looked very sad, which...
The one scene... Yeah, she did look sad. I'll give her that. She did cry. And the one scene that Paddy Considine's body was in, which enables them to put him in the credits, to fool us when we're looking at stuff at the beginning of the season.
Correct. Good job, guys.
So, again, you just let me know where we're going to next. I'll jump in with my thoughts.
Sorry, I was busy coughing really loud. I did not hear a single thing you said.
Oh, I said you just let me know where we're going next, and I'll pop in since I keep getting
Rhaenys.
Oh, now we get the Rhaenys scene.
So go ahead, bust your nuts.
Anyways, it was a very basically minor scene between Alicent and Rhaenys. Alicent guesses, everything that Rhaenyra offered Rhaenys in order to get her to agree to the support in episode 8. And then says, what's she going to do? She's going to die. She's going to take your family down with her. Support us. You'll be the head of, you get to choose what to do with your family and have the legacy. And between us, you should have been queen, and we know this, but, it didn't happen that way, so, too bad.
Yeah. Had a good line, we do not rule, but we may guide the men who do. Look and see what else. She locked up Rhaenys because Rhaenys has the dragon. That was a... I almost wish they didn't do that because that could not have foreshadowed more. Cost of being queen, counting cost to her people. And I like the line, "You desire not to be free, but to make a window in the wall of your prison. Have you never imagined yourself on the Iron Throne?" That's my notes.
Yeah, so a lot of back and forth between the two. So next, where the hell do we go next?
Crispin and Aemon still wandering and
around.
Then Otto meets up with Mysaria, and Kent is happy.
And I forgot, did Crispin and Aemon see them at this point, or is it the next scene when it's Big B and Little B?
I feel like they see them here, but
Yeah, I thought they saw them there and then kind of like stayed in the background to just follow them.
Yeah.
So we get a meeting between Mysaria and Otto, where I guess the White Worm finally meets the Hand for the first time face to face. And
which is a little bit weird, because I thought early on they kind of established that he already was working well with the White Worm, but much to my surprise, he had no idea who she was.
yeah, so obviously he's not anywhere near as good of a hand as Tywin was, because Tywin would have known and had that shit shut down. So she lets us on that, she's not just in it for the money, but, she wants to protect the people. He's like, hey, I'll give you Aegon, I sequestered him so he wouldn't be injured, after his carousing, but I want you to shut down all the fucking child fighting and prostitution and victimization, basically, going on in King's Landing. The guards,
Flea Bottom.
The guards look the other way in Flea Bottom.
Yeah. Did she give up too much here?
I guess it depends on whether or not you believe that if you don't see a body, a person still has a chance to be alive in this series.
Yeah, I don't know. They've established weird stuff with this series, so.
I really don't think so. Like, I think Otto, not to Otto, but in general, by putting herself out there, I obviously, hindsight being 2020, yes. I like how Otto cleverly evades, and he's like, well, I'll do what I can. The Hand doesn't have absolute power.
Right. Yeah. That was pretty funny. Like, Otto was he did what he could to play it.
He played it well.
Yeah.
So she tells, after they agree to the deal, she tells the lady to take Eric and Eric to go find where they've hidden Aegon. And I think this is why they'd already seen, and Crispin and Aemon follow at that point.
Yes. That's correct.
They take them to the big church, I forgot what the hell it's called.
I don't know.
Yeah. And the one that Cersei blows up.
Right.
And Aegon's been hidden in basically under the altar. And they pull him out, and he tries to run away, and then he tries to bribe them. I don't want to be king. Let me go. You never saw me. Which leads to an eventual confrontation between the two brothers. Did you get which one was which?
All right. The one that begins with an A is the one who walks away.
Arik.
That rhymed.
Yes.
So, the big E, he stays.
Little A leaves, big A stays. Big E stays. Big E. Big E.
Yeah. There you go.
Which causes
also,
even... Oh, go ahead.
I mean, watching Crispin fighting with Eric, I don't know. I'm starting to wonder, like, is Crispin really that good of a fighter?
Well, it's hard to know. I mean, we don't get much to see. I mean, we've got a lot to hear, but he is the only person that we've seen defeat Daemon, so he's got that going for him.
He does have that going for him, but then like Eric kind of got the better of him. Aemon got the better of him. Like we've not seen enough to have a huge opinion. It's just I find it weird that they had that early showcase for Crispin defeating Daemon, only to kind of portray him differently later on.
Well, I mean, I have a feeling like the Aemond thing is more like, let me not fight my hardest against the prince kind of shit. And, yeah, like, he has trouble with Eric, but at the end, he's the one who's got his blade to his throat, so.
This is true.
So they catch him, Aegon, and they bring him back to his mom. And she has a scene where I don't fucking remember. She yells at Otto.
Yeah, she finds Otto. He tells her, "Well played." Otto tries smoothing things over. Says their hearts remain as one. She says their hearts never were one, and she acknowledges that she's kind of been like a pawn piece on the board, getting moved around, and sacrifices had to be made. Kill a few, save a lot. Reluctance to murder is not a weakness, and yeah, that scene.
And then he did something that I don't know if it was creepy or maybe it was just me, but he tells her that when she's angry, she reminds him of her mother. And just
yes,
the way that incest happens in this fucking planet. I was like, is he saying what I think he's saying, or am I just reading into it too much?
Nope, that got a fully capitalized ha 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 from me in my notes after that line. And his follow-up line was, "As you wish."
Maybe he watches The Princess Bride?
He may. I assume that they get good cable in the Red Keep.
I've got black bars on 2 and 7. Yeah, so, I mean, that is uncomfortable. And is this then when we get to the infamous scene for the episode?
Yep.
So, we've known that Larry's has some heat on Alicent for a while. And we finally see how she repays him. Well, they're sitting there talking, and she just takes her shoes off, sits with her feet up on the couch, and then begins to remove her stockings slowly, and sit there with her feet aimed at him while he watches it all, licks his lips, and then masturbates to her feet.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of those things you never could have quite exactly predicted coming, but damn if it didn't make all the sense in the world.
So, this shows the side of Alicent that, we hadn't really seen before. And
she's willing to do things kind of like her father, but she keeps thinking that she's not like her father?
Well, I was going to say more like she judged Rhaenyra and got pissed off at her for sleeping with Crispin, but she's willing to, let people masturbate over her specific body parts. And I don't know if there's anything going on with her and Kristen, but, she alludes to it at one point in this episode when she says, Kristen, I need you to do this for your love you bear for me. Not asking you officially, but because of that.
I kind of took that as they've done stuff at least in the past.
Yeah, so the whole reason that she got pissed off at Rhaenyra was for the lie that she did something like that. And then she's going and doing the exact same, if not the same, similar behaviors.
Right.
And yet maintaining that same anger that she felt towards her friend. So, we're seeing a side, like a little bit of the hypocrite come out in this episode.
Yeah. It's weird because there's so much good info in this that Laris drops on her. And I'm not saying that's all forgotten, but for the next few minutes that you're watching, it's all technically forgotten because you can't quite get that image out of your head.
Yeah, I mean, nope. It's still there.
I'm sitting there like I'm writing about the web of spies. You know, you got to feed the Weaver, and drops the bomb on Talia, and you got to use this as an advantage and take out the Queen. And
pardon my my speaking there. Yeah, I like that when he says remove the Queen and the nest will die. Oh, pardon my speaking there, my Queen.
Oh yes, okay, yeah. And then it was like he was in San Diego and just going jack off where the sun always shines.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that reference or not.
I didn't know.
It's from South Park. Jacking in San Diego. It's a lovely episode and song.
I believe it. So yeah, he lets slip that Masseria is the White Worm and that she's been dealing info to her father and that her maids and who knows how many other people in the keep work for her. And that is why I believe that Masseria gave away too much when she met with Otto in person. Not the actual meeting with Otto, but because Larry's found out about it. So going on from that, not to beat a dead horse, but where do we head to next?
Well, we head to Aegon looking absolutely miserable, and then sinister, and then contemplating. And then we get like all these like shots of people like Al and Rhaenys, everybody just kind of like waiting, and then all of a sudden, Eric barges in to Rhaenys' room, and he's gonna get her out.
We didn't see the brothel burn yet?
I don't believe... No, that's coming up as they're walking away.
Okay, as they're walking. So yes, he goes to save Rhaenys, gets her dressed up, and I find it funny that like you can still tell it's exactly her because nobody else wears their hair that high in Westeros.
Correct.
I mean...
It was... Yeah. Yeah.
So they're walking through the streets trying to get her down to a ship.
The boat?
She wants to go on her dragon, but he's like, no, it's too dangerous. We'll get you to a ship so you can sail away and do whatever.
Wants to take her to Blackwater. Hello, references.
Then they get separated by the crowd that's being pushed to go attend Aegon's coronation.
And this is the point where we see the mysterious cloaked person walking away from the... Okay, so I fully admit that I wasn't 100% sure what the building was. I had to look it up just to double check to make sure I was right, because I was like, I can't imagine what other building would be on fire. Now, I want to screw all momentum we have right now, and I want to ask you this simple question, because I had a very completely different take than me and Raylene was talking about this. All right. Was that building set on fire because Otto was shutting the shit down with the kid fighting stuff? Or was that the work of Larys shutting shit down? Because I think there's two different ways to look at that.
That's the brothel, and it's not burning because Larry shut it down for her. Because the guy walking in the hood was one of the guys that Larry's cut the tongue out, who killed the Strongs up in Harrenhal for him.
Okay. So basically what you just said was music to my ears, because that's a Kent was right answer.
Yeah, sorry, Raylene. Kent was right.
Drink it in, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if it was the other thing, because then it would show that maybe Otto has a little bit of heart. But yeah, no, I don't think he even really gave a fuck in the first place.
Not only that, I think had it been the auto thought process, I think it would have been, we would have seen that at a different time and place than during this particular scene.
Yes, I agree. And it probably wouldn't have been, a dude in a cloak. It would have been, the actual guard doing something, or, maybe part of the army instead of the guard, since there's still two gold cloaks who are loyal to Daemon within the guard.
Hell, I could have even seen, like, Eric doing it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we got this clusterfuck of that crowd, street, crazy. And we also learned that the name of Rhaenys's dragon is Meleys, I believe is how she pronounced it.
That sounds about right.
Meleys. Yeah.
And then we get, like, another several minutes worth of just, like, people being forced through King's Landing to head to the High Sept for the coronation.
This was fantastic for me because I was in Feverland at this point and I hated taking notes. So, like, all this stuff, like, didn't require any notes. It was just people getting herded for, like, 5 minutes, it felt like.
Yes, it probably went on longer than it needed to. I think interspersed in here we get a scene with Aegon and Alicent, or was that the one we got right before it? Where she's talking to him, and she's like, "Your dad finally chose you, and here, have the Valyrian steel dagger to prove it."
Pretend to look grateful. I like that. And then he's like, he drops the biggest sensible thought of this whole episode in some way. He's like, Father never wanted this. He had 20 years to do so, and if he wanted to, he would have done it by now. And it's still Alicent still can't, like, unfuck herself from this attitude. But he's right. Like, if he really had the change of heart, he had all that time to do so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's just completely wishful thinking. Like,
yeah.
She's listening to an early 80s song and, like, being in the cult of wishful thinking.
She definitely takes at least 30 more pictures than she needs to on the first day back to school. If there's ever... Okay, I have 2 days that I hate on Facebook. The day the kids go back to school and Christmas Day, where parents try, like, just showing how much money that they blew on their kids. I hate those 2 days.
I got you. I agree. So we get to the coronation, and the coronation's actually pretty well done. I think it's a pretty cool scene.
Oh, wait. We got one last thing I forgot to mention. Her line when he's like, "Do you love me?" And she just replies, "You imbecile," was fantastic.
Yeah, it really was a mom thing. Yeah.
All right, so based on our conversations, I knew this wasn't going to happen, but I am genuinely curious for people that don't know anything more about what to expect in the future. In my mind, I was like, oh, she just gave him the dagger. And I'm like, if I didn't know any better, I would think that he's going to use this dagger to kill himself before he gets proclaimed king, and this would lead to Aemond. Like, that would have been good storytelling in its own weird way, because he wanted an out, she gave him the dagger. I wonder if anybody else, like, watching that has no clue wondered the same thing.
I bet there were people who did, just like one of the questions you asked over one of the scenes coming up, like, yeah, it would have made complete sense for it to happen the way you asked, but again, that would have been the end of the story. No more fucking House of the Dragon.
Well, I guess we could have had another time jump.
So we got a pretty cool coronation, and they give Aegon the sword of Aegon the Conqueror. I forgot what Blackfire. Is that what it's called? That's
something I don't have written down, but I gotta say, Aegon looked really good. Like, I don't like his hair game, but his hair game plus his attire kind of worked in some weird way.
And then he starts thrusting the sword into the air, and I'm like, all right, you got to work on your pose there, buddy, because it's...
Yeah, it's wonky.
It looks like you've never held a sword before, and I know you've at least held one because I watched you get the shit beat out of you by your nephews. So during the coronation, Rhaenys gets a chance to sneak away, and she does, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, she made it out. But nope. All of a sudden, there's this huge fucking explosion, and I remember when it happened, my wife was like, what the fuck? And you see just like stone flying in the air and dust and people, and then Rhaenys comes busting out of the fucking floor on her dragon, whipping the shit out of the fucking crowd, just murking all sorts of people, commoners. The dragon walks up to the stage and roars at everybody, and like you asked in the blog, if she had just said Dracarys and roasted everybody, would that have been the smart thing to do? I don't think anybody who saw that scene could say no, that wouldn't have been the smart thing to do.
I can't imagine, but, I'm always looking for interesting thoughts on things that I think are obvious, and sometimes you and Jim bring up something that I completely overlook.
But they go to close the doors, and she's going to get locked in, and she and her dragon manage to fly out through the doors and make it out. And that is basically the end of the episode, if I remember correctly. So,
yes,
we get a pretty badass scene. I mean, a good question that you bring up is, how did she get into her armor down there? Or maybe it was Jim who brought that up. I don't know. Maybe they just have, suits of spare dragon riding armor laying around near the dragons. We've never really seen what goes down in the dragon pit.
Yeah, but, if they're going to have the armor, I assume that they would have various sizes. So it makes some sense. But yeah, that is a really good question.
But it was a really cool scene and a cool way to end a decent episode. I mean, I'm really, again, like my biggest question for this episode is how did we get from the end of the previous episode to where they start this episode in regards to people's locations?
Right. So here's the thing, is because once again at this point I'm watching this. I think it was Wednesday, and Wednesday was the last day that I was truly feverish. But on that day I was very feverish, and I was like, I want to just watch something on my TV screen, and I don't care what. And I was like reading about like some Game of Thrones stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna go watch Game of Thrones. So I threw on the 9th episode, Baelor, which is the, Eddard Stark's head getting removed episode. And, yeah, that's a better episode than this episode. Much better. This was a weak 9th episode of a season by standards set by Game of Thrones, which may be unfair, but I do think that fans come to expect something from a 9th episode now. And I mean, yeah, we had the cool dragon thing. Like, probably like the last 10 minutes actually was pretty decent, but
making 2/3 of the episode the search for Aegon,
fucking where's Waldo's shit here going on?
And again, it's like the whole thing that there's the reason there's even any sense of urgency is just so like, is his granddad going to slap him, or is his mom going to chastise him? That's literally the fucking core crux of the difference between the two people looking for him.
Like, honestly, you could have just made this episode probably like 25 minutes long. You could have actually done more with Rhaenys' character this episode, because, like, her and Alicent had a great conversation. They could have done more with that. I don't know. There was things, or you know what? They've kind of run a little over on a couple episodes. Why not just spill some of that over into this episode? I don't know. This episode had a lot of useless stuff to me.
So, again, I don't watch the previews for the next week's episodes, but I'm assuming we're going to get basically the opposite of what we got this week.
Let's dish, girlfriend.
In that it's going to be like the same time period, but the opposite side. And so we're not going to see too much going on in King's Landing. And it's going to be all about what's going on in Dragonstone and possibly Drift fucking whatever.
Driftmark?
Yes, thank you. Driftmark.
So, everything that you just said was kind of right, except it was wrong.
Oh, okay.
Basically, what it seems like is that it's going to be exactly continuity from what we just saw. We're not going to get the other half of the story. We're getting Rhaenys reporting to Rhaenyra. Eric comes, he pledges his allegiance. Rhaenyra's boys, Daemon's like, yeah, it's time to go attack the Red Keep, and Luke and Jace are like, yeah, we want to go too, and there was just dragons, and Aemond has a look like, I'm going to fuck some fools up. So that's what we got going on.
Oh, okay.
So not like, I would have anticipated what you did, but
yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be, the same time period, but basically just like, okay, just the Rhaenyra and Daemon side of things.
So, I mean, I'm guessing it's probably going to start off with Rhaenys showing up and be like, hey, your dad's dead. Oh, and Alicent's gone crazy. Like, that's probably like how the opening scene's going to be.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Do you think... Well, hell, you know. Do you know Rhaenys' fate?
Yes.
Can I expect to see her beyond this season? Because she feels like a good season finale death. If you had to speculate, since they do change a little bit here and there.
If I had to speculate, she's going to die... Well, it depends on how many seasons they do.
We'll say 5. I feel like this is a 5 season.
I really feel like it's should be a 3-season show. Maybe even a 2-season show, but they're going to try to stretch it. If they stretch it to 5, she's going to be like a season 3 early death.
Okay. Okay, so she's going to make... So if you just had to guess for a named character to get got, do you have any that you know for a fact dies around this time?
Yeah, none of them.
So do you think we're going to go and have no big deaths, like after Viserys in season 1?
Yes.
Wow. That really would be underwhelming in some way.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, with such a small cast, we know when all of the people die.
Yeah, this is
That's the problem with a prequel, especially with a prequel
is.
where you have stuff written out already, rather than like the prequel trilogy for Star Wars, where all you had to do was Darth Vader and Luke and Leia's mom had to get together somehow. But the rest of the story was open. Something like this, where we already know X, Y, Z die because of A, B, and C, at 1, 2, 3 times.
Yes. It's a little frustrating, but I guess it's okay. It's just, I do feel that fans are, in some way, we've come to want death. That moves the story forward.
Yeah.
Maybe we got...
you fucking psychos.
We got spoiled by Game of Thrones. Like, hey, the only really good way to move a narrative forward is by death.
Who really died? Who died at the end of season 1?
In game?
Yeah.
Ned was really the only one.
Because he was episode 9, wasn't he?
He was episode 9, yeah. Because I did watch episode 10, just because I had a feeling, and I was right, that was the first episode with Gendry.
Was it?
Yep. That's when Arya gets her hair cut by... I think his name's Euron, which I barely remember that dude. Like, he's the guy that Ned's, like, basically trusted Arya with?
Yeah, he was one of the White Wall, or the Wall people, the fucking, forgot what the hell they're called.
Night Watch?
Yeah, he was a Night Watchman who was, he had come down to King's Landing looking for recruits, and, like, Robert had been putting him off instead of giving him people, and so Ned ended up giving him, a handful of people, not as many as they needed, but he was grateful because of that, so he agreed to help get Arya out when the shit went down.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Didn't we meet Gendry for just a second earlier in the season when Ned was doing the investigation and went over to the blacksmith's place?
Oh,
and when he saw Gendry, that was when he put together what was actually going on.
Yeah, because he talked about
how Robert used to come visit him, and John Aaron.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're right. So I like my version of it better because I was in fever, coma, Fantasyland.
I will go along with you, and seasons after season 1 did condition us to get ready for character deaths.
I mean, we really didn't need anything. We needed the aftermath of Ned, which we got plenty of. I mean, we did have a lot of death technically in the 10th episode because Rob's just like, yeah, we'll sacrifice 2,000 soldiers just to fool Tywin.
Yeah, and did any of the Night Watch die in that episode, or was it just them leaving at that point?
Just them leaving.
Okay.
And gosh, Sam is such a... I mean, I remember Sam was such a pussy back then, but, like, he's such a pussy. It's great. I like how they evolved him.
Yeah, I like Sam a lot. They did a good job with him.
So, all in all, this episode's definitely on the weaker half of the season for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there were things I liked. Like, I like the council, but the questions that needed to be answered that didn't get answered, just for how the setup worked. And then, like, the fucking scavenger hunt in the middle of it. So, yeah, I don't know.
I hope that they end strong enough to make fans care enough to tune in whenever they do return, probably 2024, I'm guessing.
Would probably be a good guess, early. Just figuring out the way that they film the stuff. Usually, I want to say probably like a 15-month turnaround between seasons.
Hey, as long as it's not October again, I'll be happy.
Jesus, man, this has been a fucking busy month.
Uh-huh. So, yeah. Do you think we'll have confirmation of Corlys's death in the next episode? Because I think that's probably the closest thing to a death we're going to get.
I don't know. I thought he was already basically, for all intents and purposes, almost dead. And then she brings up that he's still alive in bad health. So...
Yeah, he's alive in bad health. I just feel like maybe that's going to be their quote-unquote big death. I think we're going to get a quick scene where Corlys dies.
I mean, I love how, like, they were already fucking arguing the succession while he's still alive. Just, I'm not dead yet. I got better.
That's got to be, like, diminutivizing. I don't know if I said that right, but, like... You're still alive, and then people are just like, yeah, who's going to replace this dude?
Viserys had to deal with that for, like, what, the last 20 years?
20 years of his life, he's like, hey, still here, still king. No? Okay. You guys just argue.
I might be missing a hand, but I feel fine.
Well, he just went out and got a new hand, and then that hand died. And then he got a new hand, his old hand.
I would lose a foot, but I think Larys would take it with him.
All right, here's another bold question. Will we ever fully see what Laris's clubfoot looks like without socks on?
I'm not too sure on that.
I think we will. I think that's going to be one of those things that they show us, like, really, really give us an up-close and personal touch with, like, in Season 2 or 3.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I just, I could see people arguing that that's, like, being provocative for, ableist kind of shit. I don't know.
In this day and age, everybody will argue about anything. So, yeah.
So, do we want to do the card now, or do we want to do the card next episode? Or do I get two cards because we're doing 2 episodes, you fucker?
That seems completely fair to me. So,
oh, thanks a lot, Kent.
Because I mean it's your birthday, so all right. I am surrounded by garbage because I have not been doing a damn thing. All right. Is this new? All right. Good Lord. I feel like I've already asked this. Let me dig. All right. Here's a random card that I have not looked at. All right. Name 5 horror movies that begin with the letter H.
Halloween, Hostel, shit. Do I want to go the easy route?
No, I will not accept sequels. But you're missing 2 big franchises, quite frankly.
Give me a second.
And then one of the cooler scary movies that came out in the late 90s with Marilyn Manson music.
Okay, so we've got The Haunt. Well, does The count?
No.
Okay.
So if you want, are you going to Haunting or House?
I was going The Haunting, and then I was going to go The House on Haunted Hill, because those both, I believe, came out in the same year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something that isn't just like another House or... House.
House, yeah. I was waiting for you to just kind of stumble upon that one.
Yeah, I did it. I did.
You did it while completely ignoring Hellraiser.
Oh, yeah. Seriously, Jesus.
And Hatchet.
I've never seen Hatchet. I was just... The basically... Wasn't that produced by WWE?
Hatchet? No. You're thinking of See No Evil.
You're right, I am. But... Shit, who did... Oh, is it Kane Hodder who did Hatchet?
Kane Hodder, Robert Englund's in it.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of See No Evil.
Yeah. So,
well, that's why I never think of Hatchet.
All right. This one's really tough. A typewriter, a bed, and a sledgehammer. 1990.
Misery.
All right. Huh. As of 2015, what is the only horror film to win the Academy for Best Picture?
Shit. Is it? If it's not Exorcist, I'm gonna fucking feel... I have a feel it's either got to be Exorcist or Rosemary's Baby.
Wrong.
What movie?
Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, Silence of the Lambs. Shit. Yes, I knew that. Let me tell you a little story about that before you go on.
Yep.
My grandmother and my grandmother's neighbor, Marguerite, were like, "Oh, we're hearing so much good press about this movie, Silence of the Lambs. Let's go see it." That's all. It's up for an Academy Award. That's all they knew about it before they went and watched it.
Yeah.
So I remember that getting out. I was like, "Oh, so how's the movie going?" She was like, "Oh my god, it was horrible."
That's fantastic.
All right. Next question.
I don't think you can get this, but maybe. Name the actor who played Dr. Henry Frankenstein in both Frankenstein 1931 and Bride of Frankenstein 1935. I don't even know this guy.
Yeah, no. Go ahead. Just give it to me.
Colin Clive.
Okay.
Yeah. And, all right. Teenagers begin to die at the hands of a killer obsessed with scary movies in this 1996 deconstruction of the horror genre that we have talked about on this podcast ad nauseum.
Scream.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. He got 3 out of 5.
I'll take that 60.
Yeah. All right, then.
That'll, I guess, I'll wrap us up on House of the Dragon, episode 9.
Yes.
The Green Council. And if you're, obviously you're not going to be right with us because we have to film these and, tape these and then put them up, and you're not part of the process. But if you're following along, we'll be right back with episode 36, talking about the Mummy franchise with Brendan Fraser, not all of the old mummies with like Boris Karloff or the new one with Tom Cruise. Anyways, yeah, I had fun with this one, Kent, but it could have definitely been a better episode.
Yeah, my biggest regret was not eating a foot-long sub while watching it.
All right, see you later, Internet.
Sweet.